Hi, my name's Mission Mitch. Just wanted to do a little hey, what's up kind of intro video for the vinyl community. And yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about me. French Canadian boy, grew up loving music. Was really raised on a mix of country and gospel. Listened to a lot of bluegrass and classic rock as well growing up. My dad's favorite bands were Bob Seger, CCR, that kind of stuff. So that's really what influenced me, as a kid. Listened to a lot of Kenny Rogers, Johnny Cash, that kind of stuff. And then wasn't until I was probably about 10 years old started to get into my own kind of musical tastes and so on. And really the person that introduced me to music outside of what I was hearing, on the radio or with my friends or anything like that was my uncle. You guys might know him as is a vinyl addict. To me, he's just Uncle Eric. Anyway, he definitely introduced me to some new styles of music when I was a kid. Grade 7, grade 8, really into hip hop and punk rock. Those were big influences on my life when I was younger. Anything that was kind of rebellious or different from the music I grew up on. So really took a liking to MXPX when I was younger. And then my first two albums, I remember when I bought them, CDs, would have been sometime in the 90s, were Offspring, Americana, and Beastie Boys, Hello Nasty. Those were first two albums I ever bought with my own money. Got into vinyl a little bit later. I had a great aunt pass away. She left me a bunch of stuff, maybe 20 or so albums, a player, and some realistic tape deck and amp and that kind of stuff. And just started bin diving and loved it. There's a little local shop in the town I grew up in that I would skip school, sorry mom and dad, and go to the record store, and he had a basement, and you could just go down there and dig. It was dingy, it was dirty, and it was just loaded full of records. They weren't stored particularly well or anything, but they were cheap, and I could get them from anywhere between a quarter, maybe $1 or $2 would be the most I would be spending on them. So I slowly started to develop this habit of going down to the record store and picking up a couple LPs where I could. At first, just buying lots of classic rock and that sort of stuff until my musical tastes finally started to expand somewhere in college or a little bit later. And anyway, I'll show you a couple of the albums that I really like that were either early influences or that I just like to listen to on a regular basis. So as you can tell, like I said, is Vinyl Addicts is my uncle. He's the guy that got me into music. This is definitely a keeper. He bought this for me. Great album, really funky, really out there, and I just really enjoy it. Santa Esmeralda, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, and this one came out in, sorry guys, I want to say 77. This came out in 77, so yeah, that is a good one. One of the first albums I ever bought myself, I believe I got this one at a garage sale, was a top 20 hits put out by Jukebox International. Just lots of classic on here. One of the songs I really liked as a kid was The Streak by Ray Stevens. This was put out in, I don't even see the date on this, 74 by Jukebox International. Fun album, nothing spectacular, but definitely a good little mix. Huey Lewis and the News, this is 4. This is definitely my favorite Huey Lewis and the News album. Really enjoy this album. Big fan of the band in general, but this one came out in '86, and just fantastic, full of classics. Really, really dig this one. Cannot be without your MJ. Thriller, love this album. Absolutely fantastic. Just start to finish. This one was put out on Epic in 1982, and yeah, just fantastic, fantastic MJ record. Tower Power. Cannot go wrong with Tower Power. Love the bass in this, just awesome, fantastic. I can't describe how good the bass is in this. Take a look at these guys. This is just what funk was all about. This was put out on Warner in 1974. Great, fantastic album. If you like funk, soul, R&B, jazz, anything like that, definitely pick this album up. This probably gonna get some flack from the community about this one, and it's in my intro, but whatever, I don't care. Absolutely love this album. This is my pick-me-up. This is my start my mornings with it. I'm an 80s kid. Love me some 80s. Anyway, Footloose soundtrack. Not a huge soundtrack guy, but this is the soundtrack of all soundtracks as far as I'm concerned. Young John Lithgow in this. Mr. Chris Penn. Anyway, this was put out by Paramount. 1984. Love it. Don't care what you say. Love it. This next band, this is actually quite new album. It was put out by Fat Records in '07. These guys are not close friends of mine, but they're acquaintances. Definitely good guys. And yeah, this is just an awesome album. They are young guys out of Richmond Hill area, Ontario, Canada. The Flatliners. This is called The Great Awake. Really, really awesome album. If you guys are into punk rock or hardcore or anything like that, definitely pick this up. Very talented kids, the Flatliners. Remember that. Started getting to jazz a little bit later. This man right here, Joe Jackson. Just really, really good. Body and Soul was put out on A&M Records, and this is from 1984. Very classic album. I played a little bit of trumpet when I was a kid, and fell in love with horns, and just anything with horns. Love. This man. If you don't have this in your collection, you should. Wilson Pickett. He is the man. This is the best of, put out by Atlantic in, can't find a date on here. I cannot find a date. Sorry, not sure exactly when this was put out. 70s, I know that much. Anyway, great album. Wilson Pickett's the man. Yeah, very diverse musical taste, but I know they're a little country for some people. I don't care. To me, they'll always be rock and roll. The Eagles, another greatest hits album. Just too many phenomenal tracks on here to even mention. The whole thing's great, just start to finish. It's put out on Asylum in 1976. Great album. I'm a sucker for compilations, anything, greatest hits, that kind of stuff. So you'll see a lot of those probably in my collection. Hip hop. This is Nas's first album. Illmatic was put out on Columbia in '94. They say he was kind of the king of hip hop back then, just because he was one of the first guys to put out an album with no guest appearances. Virtually unheard of, especially in this day and age. Just a strong lyricist, and it's a phenomenal album. And last but not least, the Rebel, Mr. Waylon. It's another greatest hits album. I really liked it just because it had this like faux leather on it, and just the man is classic. That smoke hanging out of his mouth and that awesome hat. Anyway, bunch of great ones on here. It's put out in what year? 79 by RCA. And yeah. Anyway, looking forward to getting to know more people. I've really been enjoying everybody's videos and thought it was time to put up my own. I'm not much of a guy for comments. Sorry if I don't respond right away. But yeah, I try and break out my shell and be a little bit more interesting for everybody I mean. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this, and can't wait to give you a little bit more of a glimpse of my collection, and keep looking at yours, learning and exploring new music. Thanks guys, have a good one.